Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Kråkan, so welcome to Classic Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Frankenweenie, or rather the 30-minute live-action short that's on there. And the movie starts with actually a group of people watching a movie called Monsters from Long Ago, and it's a dinosaur movie made by Victor Frankenstein, the kid of this movie and the main character. And it's a crudely made movie because he's a kid, so he has used all kinds of props from the house. He's taken some oven mittens and whatnot, and his dog Sparky is playing the monster dressed up in a lizard costume. And the movie ends, and some of his friends gets cookies, and Victor plays with Sparky, and he throws a ball out on the road, and Sparky gets hit by a car. And then cutting to an intro credit sequence. Classic Tim Burton style, kind of twist and dark tones, kind of exaggerated weird forms, and it's one of those things. This movie is in black and white, by the way, so it has that stylistic kind of Burton feel to it. And in this graveyard, Victor is watching the grave of Sparky, basically. And the next day, his friends, they're going to school, and they talk about, getting a new pet. That's what you do when you lose your old one, I guess. So he is in science class, and they are doing some experiment about electricity, and they electrocute a frog, and the leg twitches on it. So that gives Victor an idea. So he basically gets the idea to resurrect Sparky. So he read a lot of books, and he goes into its own home, and he gets like a toaster and all kinds of household appliances, and he actually builds a machine out of it, and it's kind of like this weird thing, and his neighbors are kind of suspicious of him, what he's doing, and he says to his neighbor, this old man, that he's helping his dad cleaning out the garage by taking the stuff back into the house, which I thought was kind of funny because kids logic. So he built this machine, and later at night it's raining and there's a thunderstorm. He goes up and digs up Sparky and brings him back to the attic where he has this machine. It's basically a recreation of the original black and white Frankenstein, just made by a kid trying to resurrect his dog, and lightning hits the machine and Sparky comes back to life. And later, the next day even, Victor tries to fake being sick so he can stay home with his dog, but the parents aren't falling for it, but he sneaks up into the attic anyway, and he tries to feed Sparky. And there's this funny scene where he has like bolts on his neck, just like Frankenstein, like stitches, and Sparky drinks water and water comes pouring out of his neck. Kind of funny effect though. And what happens is that after Victor has fed Sparky, he falls asleep, and Sparky decides to go out for a walk. So Sparky walks into the neighbor's shed, and the neighbor checks it out because he hears like a sound, and Sparky gets scared and runs out, and he runs back home, and Victor wakes up, and Victor's parents arrive just in time, and the neighbor confronts Victor's parents about what they've seen or what they've saw, because they don't really know what it was. And he basically tells them to go home, and later Victor's dad sees Victor and Sparky on the top of the attic, and he is even more confused on what to do. And later the next day, Victor goes to school with his friends, and all the neighbors are kind of looking at him suspiciously. And when they get home, Victor and his mom and dad, they talk it out, and they decide that they will invite all the neighbors to explain what's been happening. So they invite all the neighbors in the neighborhood, and they bring Sparky in, and they get scared, and Sparky gets scared, and he runs away, and he runs out into the dark. He runs to a mini golf course, and Victor runs after him, and the parents runs after Victor, and the whole neighborhood runs after the parents. So it's like this funny gag, and they run into this mini golf course, like a big mill, like a miniature but also bigature mill, I guess. And accidentally one of the neighbors lights it on fire, just like the Frankenstein movie, and Victor gets unconscious, but Sparky pulls him out of the rubble, and the windmill kind of falls on Sparky, killing him outright. So for some reason, the neighbors suddenly has a conscience now that the dog has saved Victor. So they use their car batteries and they hook it up to Sparky, and they just rev the engine, and all of a sudden Sparky's alive. And there's a little funny scene where this other like black poodle with white stripes in their hair. It's like a homage to the Bride of Frankenstein. Like, yeah, basically the Bride of Frankenstein, and it's a happy ending, and everybody is having a good time. So what do I think about the live action short of this animated movie? It's good. I think it's was the thing that actually inspired them to make the CGI kind of puppet-like movie that is Frankenweenie. And I mean, the short is a lot better because it has like, it's kind of a funny thing because it's like horror reference, right? So the mom, or Victor's mom, is actually played by the mom or the actress that plays the mom in The Shining. And I was like, that's kind of funny. I picked up on like small details and all the kind of idea of like this small suburban neighborhood with a kid that likes to do horror movies and stuff, and how he lost his dog and he kind of said like, I want to bring it back and everything. It's like a heartwarming story, but I actually like the short live action better than the full movie. There's something about like this all kind of vibe to it, I guess. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.